Shalom and welcome to Students of Torah. This year is entitled, How Does One Say Kedusha? Sounds like a simple question. We do it every single day. Shachas and Mincha. People have been doing it for 40, 50, 60 years. Sounds like simple. We say Kedusha with the Tzibbur, and the Chazzan says it in the Kaddish. We say in the Kaddish. He says Kedusha. We say Kedusha. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Sounds like a simple question. Not so simple. The Shulchan Aruch actually writes that the Chazan, and only the Chazan, says Nekadesh and introduces the Tzibur, just like Kaddish. You ever hear of the whole Tzibur saying Yiskadash Me'arabah together? Of course not. The Chazan says Yiskadash Me'arabah, introduces to the Tzibur the answer Yehesh Me'arabah. Then he continues to say Brechu. So the Shulchan Aruch says the same thing with the Kedusha. Only the Chazan says in the Kaddish introduce everyone to Kadosh Kadosh. Only the Chazan says Lumar Sam, and then they say Baruch Kavod. And then he says V'Kashacha. And yet no one does that. And the Shulchan Aruch makes it very clear. Ain, we should not say it. Only the Chazan should say it. And yet, even though the Ramah doesn't argue with it, the Mishnah Berurah says that Maker then is the right way to do it. Nevertheless, the minhag is for all the people to say the whole Kedusha against the Shulchan Aruch. The Taz goes this way, the Arizal goes this way, the Magen Avram brings it down as well, the Kaf Chaim, and they all say the minhag is to say it, and the Kaf Chaim specifically in Kuf Chaf Hei Bet says the minhag is for us to say word for word the whole Kedusha with the Chazan, the Kadesh Chav together with the Chazan. So that's introductory verses that we do. Not like the Shulchan Aruch, but we go like the Arizal, the Taz of Magen Avraham. Fine. What about Kadosh Kadosh Baruch Kavod and Yimloch, the essence of Kedusha? So it's a tricky one. So the Tzibur says it together, of course, but the Chazan is a bit of a quandary. On the one hand, let him say it with us, so we all are saying Kedusha together. He needs to say Kedusha together too, it would seem, with all of us. You can't say Kadosh Kadosh Baruch Kavod Yimloch without a minyan. Certainly not the Kedusha Shemona Esrei. So you should say it with us. There's only one problem. The Shulchan Aruch writes that, and it's the halacha based on the Gemara and the Rishonim, that during Chazar Hashatz, if someone is still davening, he should stop and listen to the Chazan say Kadosh 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 and Baruch Kavod. So wait a second, that means the Chazan is going to say it loud. So does that mean he screams over the Kehillah? They say Kadosh Kadosh Kadosh, and he simultaneously says Kadosh Kadosh loudly, so that the people who are still davening, they can hear him and be Yotzei. So some folks can say, yeah, that's what he should do, because he needs to say it with the Tzibur, so it's Kedusha together, but he says it loud, so those who are still davening can be Yotzei. The Be'er Halacha wonders about this, and he says, wait a second. It would seem that he has to say the Kedusha with everyone. On the other hand, maybe equate till everyone finishes and then say Kadosh Baruch Kavod and Yimloch. How could he say Kedusha without a minyan? Well, he's the Chazan. And it was instituted for him to say it out loud for the people who are still davening. How does he do the whole Shemona Esrei out loud? He already davened. That was instituted for him to daven out loud for back in the day when people couldn't daven, and he davens Chazar Hashatz for the Kehillah that needs him. So he says Kedusha out loud. Kedusha is always with a minyan. Yes, that's the typical way to have Kedusha. But over here, it was instituted for him as a Chazan to say it out loud. The Be'er Halacha is not thrilled with the Svar, and he says he should try to say Kadosh Kadosh Baruch Kavod Yimloch. Maybe not word for word with the Tzibur, but as long as they're still involved in the line. Let's say Kadosh Hashem was Meloch Haaretz Kavodo, right, even towards the end of the line. So then he should start Kadosh Kadosh. So he starts it when they're still involved in the Davasha Kedusha, in this line. So then he's jumping in while they're involved, and he could say it out loud so that people can hear him. And then he says it while it's a time of Kedusha. And he could also say it a little delayed so that the people can hear him. Rav Moshe Feinstein, on the other hand, says, no, that when it quiets down, he says it by himself, out loud, because that's his role as the Chazan. It's fascinating that Rav Moshe doesn't even quote the Be'er Halacha. A little surprising, but that's what Rav Moshe does over here. So it turns out we have a few different ways to say Kedusha. Lamaisa, I think the best way would be In terms of the ideal way, Mishnah Berurah says ideal way is that only the Chazan introduces everyone each time. But Lamais is not the medical Israel. So if someone always goes by the Gra, maybe you should do that. But most Yanim, we say it together with the Chazan or the introductory verses. Or we say it, then the Chazan says the introductory verses after us. Regarding Kadosh Baruch and Yimloch, there it seemed the best thing to do would be like the Mishnah Berurah, to wait a few seconds, because everyone's very loud in the beginning, wait a few seconds, and while they're finishing off each line of Kedusha, then the Chazan starts his line. He says it now nice and loud. He has in mind to be motzi any of the members who are still davening and need to hear Kedusha. And that way, he says the Kedusha with the Tzibbur, but he says it out loud so that the members could be Yotzei as well. So that's an overview of the halachot of Kedusha. Shalom.